crystal ball buying and crystal ball selling. We're looking at stock and analysing the market. Is it a good time to sell now? Is it a good time to buy now? We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about stock. Stay tuned.
Good morning.
Listen up. Good morning.
How are you on
And
this
rainy.
stormy winter morning?
It is. You know what? It's good for the grass. It's good for the trees. But geez, there's plenty of rain around this morning. I'm good. How are you going?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm safe and dry in the green room, so I made it out of the storm. But it's a bit of a storm out there in the marketplace. There's no stock. Everyone's freaking out. People are trying to get their crystal ball saying, do we buy, do we sell, or do we wait?
And everyone's scratching. Everyone's going, oh, do we? Yeah, it's plenty of questions out there. Plenty of questions out there from people. But stock is a real telltale. Hey, like the amount of properties for sale on the market, when that goes down or when that goes up, that starts telling a tale.
Yeah, I think it's, it's just as big like measurement or tool that we follow as much as sold prices, because they're so directly linked. Obviously, the yes, it's a really interesting one which we follow very closely, and it's slowly changing. And interestingly, I think the buyers are saying the same things at our open homes as well.
And it's a bit of a myth for people. People think when prices go up, it's really good for agents. When prices go down, it's really bad for agents. Believe it or not, for real estate agents, it doesn't really change whether the prices are up or the prices are high or the prices are low. It's all about the volume. So we can have a market where units and houses are cheap, selling for cheap, not good prices, but we're selling a lot of them. That's great for business. But then we can have a market where there's houses are selling for an absolute fortune, and so are units, and then agents are actually scratching, and it's not good for business because there's not a lot of volume out there. So it's detached from the amount of properties on the market. When you start talking about volume, sometimes it's just a high volume market or a low volume market. What do you reckon about the stock at the moment, Billy, and how do you think that's influencing prices?
Well, I reckon
What are the numbers?
before we get to the crux of it, we've got to give people the context, because unless you've been in the industry 20 years and you've seen the cycles, it's really hard to put into context what we're actually dealing with here. So talk us through, Mark, what does a balanced market look like? Normal stock levels on the Northern Beaches, and then let's bring it back to where we're at the moment.
Okay. What I also find interesting while we're talking about a balanced market is nobody reports on this number. For some reason, everyone talks about auction clearance rates as the one and only metric on measuring the property market. I actually think stock levels is just as important in the market in your area, and I also think days on market. From when it's first advertised to when it's actually sold. They're the three metrics that I'd be following if I was trying to crystal ball the shit out of the market.
Yep.
So back to your question. What was that again, Billy?
What does normal stock levels look like on the Northern Beaches for the last 20 years?
Okay, so for people in other states and for people outside of the Northern Beaches, we're going to use a metric that we know. So high-level stuff, we've got about 105,000 properties on the Northern Beaches.
Yep.
At any one time for sale, out of those 105,000 properties, they get advertised when they're for sale. Generally, the place that they're advertised the most in our particular region, different regions,
Yep.
some regions are more domain.com.au, some regions are more realestate.com.au. Our region's more realestate.com.au. Now, in our region, if we see 1,200 properties on the market, units, houses, townhouses, and everything, that's a shitload of stock. If we see 480, that's really, really low in stock. As a matter of fact, normally through that Christmas period, when people take their don't sell, that sort of that 15th of December through to the 15th of January, that's when
Yep.
we see stock historically low, and the lowest we normally see it is around 550. Every year it'll go down to 550, and you go, wow, that's a really, really low stock market.
So to bring it back as to what today's numbers are, we're sitting at about 535 properties on realestate.com. Now, as Mark mentioned, that's not a true indication of how many properties are there, because you've got off-market, pre-market opportunities that don't launch out straight away, and domain. But it's a really good measure, particularly in our core area, because that's the number one portal that people are launching out to. So you almost sort of named that as a 20-year low, right?
Yeah, well, look, as long as realestate.com's been around, which has got to be around 20 to 25 years, absolutely.
Which is scary, because I think people know we're in a low stock environment, but they are saying at the open homes they feel like there's a little bit more coming on, and they feel like over the last 4 to 8 weeks we've been told that the heat in certain price points is not quite as intense as it was, because they're feeling there's an extra 1 or 2 properties in their price range just trickling through.
Yeah, people are getting I think people now are comfortable with the change in the rates, and when it first happens, everyone was in shock and awe, so I think everyone just froze up a little bit. But I think at the moment it's pretty clear that there's essential purchases that have to happen, essential sales that have to happen, and they will always happen. So those stock, those types of properties, units and houses will all come onto the market, because they've just got to be sold, or you just need to purchase because you've got the ability, or you need it for your family. So yeah, I think now we're starting to see a really nice balance in the market.
It's interesting though, because I was in Colorado yesterday talking with some prospective clients, and we were talking about, like, in their price point, there's 2 houses on the market for sale in Colorado, only 2. And it's hard to kind of get it's hard to try and sort of put that into context for people when they're so used to not sort of actively looking and selling over the course of months. But it's incredibly low. And spring we may see a little bit more, but as you're saying, people are comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Even the fact that the interest rates, everyone's talking about the mortgage cliff. Technically, we're halfway through that mortgage cliff this year that everyone's talking about. So there was the majority of fixed term interest rates we're going to be finishing this year, and we're halfway through them. So people were saying that that sellers were going to just dump their property because they couldn't afford their new interest rate, but we haven't quite seen that.
Yeah, true. But I think that's a really good couple of points to look at with your crystal ball. Rates, where are they going, and what does that look like until between now and then? What does days on market look like? What does stock levels look like? And ultimately, what have sale prices done as a median value across suburbs you're looking at? I think that's the best sort of metric to use without getting caught up in all the media.
So that's the first half of the year over. What do you reckon about the next half of the year, Billy Bob, the old man in a young man's body?
I got told the other day that I was very wise for my age. I thought, oh, that's a lovely compliment. Lisa's got a few comments here. We don't envisage an oversupply of stock, guys. Buy, get keen. Luke, I love Luke's little opportunities on Insta he keeps throwing out there. Really cool. We need some Northern Beaches one, Luke's. Please send some of those some our way. And the movie cinemas are full. It was ridiculous yesterday. I actually did go to the movies. My prediction would be in line with what Lisa's saying. I think we'll see a little bit more stock coming on. Seasonally adjusted, there always is. However, I don't think we're going to see it flood in as much as people might think, where it's going to necessarily change prices or the market altogether. I think we're sort of slowly finding our new version of normal.
Are we in a bubble?
100% we are. It was interesting. Off air, we were talking about everyone's in Europe. I said, I think that's just the Northern Beaches that are in Europe. I can't imagine that's the whole of Sydney. And I'd love to hear any out-of-area people, particularly agents, if they can report on what they're finding. I definitely think we're in a bubble.
I know Tom Panos does a lot of western suburbs, and Tom's reporting that he's starting to see a lot of his posts are the prices are not good. Prices are not good. Market is changing, but I just like Lisa's comment about the movie cinemas. You look around, you drive past the restaurants, you hear of people overseas. I think people who are relatively comfortable are sitting quiet, and then the people who are sort of. But I think selling newspapers is what's that? If it bleeds, it reads. So a lot of newspapers are reporting, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out.
Watch out for Taylor Swift. You can't get your hands on tickets.
I don't know. It's really interesting. Well, look at that. I went to the FIFA World Cup, Australia versus Ireland. 75,000 people. Tickets are not cheap. Full stadium. I don't know.
It's really I think mixed signals out there, but you can definitely get caught up in the media. You can definitely get caught up in, as you say, those real punchy headlines that catch your eye. Obviously, that's what they're meant to do. But I think if you're on the ground and you're buying or selling in the next 6 months, bring it back to those metrics. If you need advice around any of those numbers, have a chat with us. And I think that really that's the sensible approach. Don't get caught up in the storm.
So, in summary, more stock, better buying?
More stock, it's got to equal better buying. But don't worry, sellers. I don't think it's going to change your prices. If anything, take advantage of the low stock environment whilst we've got it. That would be my advice.
If you're going to sell in the next 12 months, sell now.
Sell in isolation, not competition. It can only help your situation.
Boom. See ya.